How's it going, everybody? It's Shinigami here to bring you another update for the Marvels and more, I guess, behind the scenes coverage of what's been going on. So I know a lot of people were telling me in my last video about Brie Larson and stuff, is that I might be clickbaiting and all that, right? Now I will concede to that notion that a little bit of clickbait was used. I'll also say that if this comes to fruition that she does quit, then I will have been Nostradamus, and everybody who was saying it was clickbait will be, guess what, Brandon a liar. I'm just playing. But if that does happen, I swear that's gonna be funny as hell for all the people who are saying no, she's not quitting. Guess what, if she does, hey, I'm not the first to call it either, so I'm just pointing that out. I'm not the first to say she's gonna quit. I'm not even that important. I'm just stating what my voice opinions are, I guess you could say. I'm a nobody, but I'm finding stuff that I think is interesting, to say the least. And something else I have found very interesting, because I was a big Marvel stan at the time, 2014 to be exact. That was pretty much peak Marvel for me. And then you got stuff that's coming out recently from Disney Plus that hasn't been really making any sense. Nothing is being tied together with a nice little bow on top, you know. Plus we got stuff like this where Marvel Insider exposed Secret Invasion behind the scenes drama. Now if we were to scroll through this a little bit more, you'd see right here, despite Marvel's first crossover event for Samuel L. Jackson's Secret War, they found it was found to be directorless, confusing, and wasteful, with characters becoming the first MCU project to receive a rotten score from both audience and critics. And this is first of many blunders from Marvel. Now, this also could have been avoided if they hadn't just been calling the fandom toxic or besmirching our names, I guess you could say. Because we just... nobody really is a Marvel expert. There are so many Marvel comics you'd have to read to really be considered an expert, right? Maybe I can say Comic Explain is one of those few people who has read, from what I've seen on his videos and stuff, freaking every comic, almost at least, and he's covered them pretty well. You know, I would be considering as a Marvel expert or a DC expert, right? But a lot of the people that they hire don't actually read that much of comics, you know what I mean? Like, I've only read a handful of comics myself. I'm no expert, but the ones that I have read, they're really good. They're fun, they're intriguing, but they're also older. They're not from 2000. They're all past 2000 and beyond, right? A lot of the new ones are just kind of derivatives of characters we already had, as well as, well, we'll just continue on from what the original story from our Secret Invasion was, right? That had so much potential from the amount of characters involved in that original story. It had the Fantastic Four, it had the X-Men, it had the Avengers, it had, you know, everybody from around the world. It had space variables as well integrated into it, which we don't really have in this show. And, you know, the Skrulls' powers were much more refined instead of how they are in the MCU, where they were portrayed as migrants, illegal aliens that needed refuge. And then when they had gained these powers, all of a sudden they're just strong. They're the strongest character imaginable, right? You know, when you see Emily Clark's character with Drax's arm, surprisingly she has the tattoos as well, which, if you were to actually think about it, when someone collects someone's DNA, a tattoo is not going to transfer over from the said ability. But the people that wrote Marvel or wrote the, you know, Secret Invasion really didn't take that into account. Continuity, I would say, is one of the most important stages of world building. And if you don't have that, it ruins the immersion for so many people when all of a sudden those core elements of history and you know, being faithful to what happened before in previous projects, when you just kind of brush that under the rug and act like it doesn't matter, well, guess what? The fandom is going to react in kindly as well. That's why the reviews haven't been so nice. Well, mostly because, you know, the shows are shit and the writing is bad, the storytelling isn't there. Everybody can tell the CGI is overworked and overused at this point. You know, why can't we have more practical effects? Why are you guys using volume instead of, you know, making sets that were actually there, filming on actual live locations? Everything is, you know, because it's cheaper to make it on the volume. Anyway, let's keep going. Sorry, I get on a rant with this shit. Hopefully that makes a little bit more sense of my opinions there, right? So, as we were to continue on here, we see more of that same issues that happened. Secret Invasion troubled pre-production, actually crippled production in the summer of 2022, thanks to factions, power struggles, and weeks of people not getting along, and it erupted, right? Then, if we were to go on a little bit further, while it's true the Marvel Studios released several successful films and Disney Plus shows since the start of the MCU, Phase 4, still few could deny that Marvel Studios was off its game. But due to the pandemic and its challenges, coupled with the introduction of the MCU streaming series and Disney CEO's woes, which they're not even going to really address the issue with Bob Chapek and Bob Iger. If I were to give you a little bit more insight on what happened there, Bob Chapek was basically put in as a fall guy to Disney's struggles, and when the pandemic happened, all of a sudden, coincidentally, Bob Iger hopped out of the train before it actually got bad, and then just to try to come back when the ship has calmed, the storm is settled, thinking that all would be fine, when in reality a lot of these issues that are going on with Marvel and Disney in general stemmed from his overspending, overzealous need to have certain people of agendas that, you know, now you're trying to fire them, and all of a sudden, guess what? Now they're playing victimhood and winning in the end because they're still making money from you. So I don't really see how that was a win in general, right? So that's a little breakdown for what they're not actually explaining in that little segment there. And if we keep going on a little bit further, however, Secret Invasion's poor quality atop of Ant-Man Quantumania's shock, because these people saw the film and they really thought, damn, this was a good film. Having MODOK not actually be MODOK, right? He was a joke. Instead of what he actually is a killer, a psychopath, someone who is super intelligent and would just wreck a lot of the Avengers that don't have powers. And guess what? He was beaten by a bunch of ants. That's pretty much part of it. Anyways, yeah, that a lot of the shit that happened in Quantumania, it shows these villains aren't really anything if only two of our heroes can defeat them when they're supposed to be main villains, right? You can tell me in the comments what you think about that, but in addition here as well, you had the scrapping of Daredevil Born Again, which I should also mention, Disney and Marvel doesn't know how to actually make TV shows, right? They've been making all this stuff just as they have their movies. And that is one of the main issues that is going on with the MCU, is that, or at least the Disney Plus series, they've been rushing a lot of this stuff and trying to just jam in Easter eggs, even though they should actually be writing a good coherent story based off of a, you know, comic source material. They're not doing that. They're only grabbing the, you know, the member berries. That's pretty much all it's been for the last 3-4 years now, since Endgame. After that, you know, since Black Widow came out, everybody has kind of noticed that it's been a little bit off. WandaVision, I'll say it, you know, it was a pretty good series. Those first 4 episodes had you very intrigued. They had a very different tone, the way that it was a mystery. You didn't know what was going on, stepping through the ages of television. But then we had that immersion break where it just became generic, MCU CGI fights, right? Oh look, a derivative version of myself fighting against me. That's all it was. Like, can we not be more creative about that? There are so many villains and characters you can use. You could have used Mephisto. That was what everybody was thinking, but you didn't. And then even in Loki, you could have used Mephisto, and then you didn't. You ended up doing Kang, one of the least popular villains in comic book history. The ones that were more popular to be used would be Annihilus, of course, the Beyonders, but that's a story for later on. Doctor Doom would have been a great villain to have. Obviously, introduction of the Fantastic Four and the X-Men would have also been the best thing that would have helped elevate after Endgame, but we didn't get that. Contractual obligations also definitely screwed that up. It was a long video. Sorry about that. And then we have other reports here showing that the box office predictions have already been shown to decline from Captain Marvel, the first one. And yeah, just a little bit of segment here. The original was at 153 million opening weekend. This one is set to make anywhere between 50 to 75 mil opening weekend. That is a huge drop off of at least was it 60% or 55? 47%, my bad. But insane on just, they're not listening to the consumers. They're not listening to what we actually want. They're using characters that already had the lowest amount of sales comparative to other, stories in the franchise. But instead of getting stuff that happened in like the 80s, 90s and stuff, we're getting stuff that happened in 2010, in the late 2000s, when there are still so many stories they have barely scratched the surface of from, legacy Marvel. They need to already reboot it because they've screwed the pooch way too much now with the box office failures, with casting people off of just basically diversity, not actually going on their talent. Scared to actually hire white people, which has been said in multiple interviews from people that don't want to get in trouble. I'll show you what I mean a little bit, or fuck it, we'll just go to what I mean right now. Hey, we'll just take a little listen here. Let me lower myself.
Disney is absolutely falling apart. Like, it's right before our eyes. And Chuck Dixon came on our show, came on Real BBC about 6 months ago, I think, and said it best when he said, when the bottom drops out, right, he was speaking specifically of Marvel, of the MCU and superhero films. When the bottom drops out, it's going to drop fast. And the Marvels is coming up. It's projected to flop. I think it's going to. I think the numbers are too high. I personally think the numbers are too high.
I agree. I think that it's a way overestimate. I think it's optimistic at best.
I am looking for the article of the Marvels review embargo.
Oh yeah. So, by the way, by now I would have been invited to a screening because I am on their list. I have not been invited to a screening yet. And my guess is it's going to be either the Monday or the Wednesday before it opens. I already purchased tickets to see it on that Thursday. So I'm very curious. And the more they show, have you seen some of the recent TV clips where they show more of the movie?
No.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at a promotional picture in just a moment.
Oh! Damn it, we had that fucking low volume for the minute. Well, guess what? We'll start from here then. So, I was stating earlier, pretty much what's going to be happening with the Marvel's prediction is they were not even allowing people to review it until the day before, whereas the Hunger Games prequel, they're not even allowing that. The Hunger Games prequel is allowing reviews already as of November 1st, and the film doesn't even come out until later on in the year. Comparing that from the Marvels and the fact that they're holding back reviews for so long just shows that they're afraid of what people are going to say, even though they're already going to call us sexist or hateful towards said, ethnicity or racist, whatever, because we don't like Kamala Khan or something, right? When that's not the case, right? These characters they haven't earned their place. They're characters that should have not jumped the line instead of stories that we had from like the 80s, 70s, and 90s. We're jumping the gun to stories that are told from the late 2000s and 2010s. There's only one reason why it's going to be failing, and it's just because they're not listening to the fan base. These stories are just solely derivative, agenda driven, and if they actually had a good story to tell, they wouldn't need to have all three of them bunched up together. They would have just been Captain Marvel 2, but they didn't have faith in that. Let me know what y'all think in the comments below. It's been a Shinigami signing out, and have a good night, good morning. We'll see you next time. Bye.